Let's get it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bullpen.
I just asked him, can I please go in my car and put it in neutral? But don't move my car. I'll have another tow company come and I'm going to charge you.
No.
No.
Stop, she's recording.
I don't care! You're going to get a disorderly conduct. Give me the ticket. Go back in the house then. If you can't be quiet. Exactly.
Knock it off. Knock it off.
I'm not talking to you.
Knock it off. Hey, quit playing with you. You're on the side.
As long as there is that moment. I can issue him a citation for disorderly conduct, okay? Would you want that? Yeah? Okay. Okay. You want to send that to me if you can? I'll put it with the ticket.
Indisputable covered this as an exclusive. The man was yelling racial slurs, calling the young lady the N-word. He had driven a car, basically, a car into their property, damaged their property. Police come, and you saw what unfolded. We have on the show Miss Rhonda Ronsman, who was the victim of this and other incidents that we'll talk about. Wish it was under better circumstances. But Ms. Ronsman, thank you for being on the show. How are you?
Thanks for having me. It's hard to listen to that. Conjures up a lot of feelings.
Sure it does. I'm going to do my best to help navigate with you through this.
Okay.
You stood up for yourself. You told that officer, yes, you want to press a disorderly conduct charge, or whatever the offer was. To me, it should have been much more stiff than that. But can you take us through what happened that day?
Absolutely. So my husband and I were in our home. I also should mention that prior to this, the person who currently lives behind us had threatened to do this to me, to us. So as we were sitting in our home on July 30th of 2022, when we heard a loud crash and a thud, I knew right away who it was. I didn't expect to see what I saw. And my husband ran outside. I had to chase after my husband because he was very upset, obviously, extremely upset. But running through my mind was, I don't know what kind of weapons this guy has. I don't know, there are no officers here. We are basically just a target because now there's this gaping hole in our fence and he's on our property. And I came outside, and when I saw Mr. Wise get out of the vehicle, I said, what happened? And he looked at me and said, I hurt my leg, but my neighbor is worried about her house. So that was about a half hour to 45 minutes before the video that you saw. And that particular word was uttered probably over 20 times throughout the course of that time frame. So when I started videotaping, his companion, the person who was with him, started to become very upset and started yelling at me and screaming at me and telling me to stop. And then he became upset because I wanted him off of my property, one, and two, I was not going to allow him to take the vehicle off of my property. So as he continued to lose control over the situation, he started to become much more upset with me, which makes no sense. He shouldn't have been upset with me at all. But my personal feeling is that what he did was intentional. And what I also feel is that since that time, I have gotten a restraining order as of October of last year. And all of those videos that you played of that truck flying past the back of our house were things that he did after he got the restraining order. So the fact that he's not incarcerated and the fact that he is not in jail, I don't have any words. All I know is that it's a year and a month or two later, and I won't park in my garage. 2 days ago, actually probably about 2 or 3 days ago, went to get ready for work. Every time my husband leaves the house, I lock the screen door because I'm afraid he's gonna break through. And I literally came out of the shower and I could only imagine him standing, just seeing his face standing in front of me, and I just started to sob. So, this is no way to live. And I felt like I had no other choice but to share this video with you because I don't want anybody to get hurt. I just want it to stop. And I don't just want it to stop for me. I want it to stop for America, and everybody should be offended by this. It shouldn't just be a black or white thing. This shouldn't be allowed in America. You should want to get involved in helping stop this.
You speak true. You speak true word. This is not a black, white thing. This is about decency. This is about care. So let me go back to something you said. You said you think what he did was intentional. He said it was an accident. He told our producers it was an accident. I injured myself. And basically you made a big deal about something. Now we see the damage. Right. I don't think a big enough deal was made. I don't understand why the officer didn't come, put him on the ground and take him to jail immediately. So you said intentional because he threatened to do something like this. What was the nature of that threat prior?
Well, there's a couple things that I want to mention in terms of it being intentional. First of all, the restraining order was given in October of last year, and this happened in July. So the reason why the restraining order was given was specifically for this incident. So it wasn't just me who believed it was intentional and that his behavior was harassing and threatening. It was the judge who actually issued the restraining order as well. The other aspect of it was the conversations that I heard him have with other neighbors. One in particular where he became upset when he saw us building the fence. And he mentioned to another neighbor that he was gonna knock the racial slur down, that he was gonna knock the fence down. I don't understand how anyone could, if you're making that kind of a threat and then your fence comes down, which isn't an everyday occurrence.
Right.
You pretty much just put two and two together and you come to the conclusion that somebody wants to hurt you.
Why did this insecure shell of a man get upset about the fence, at least in his estimation? Do you know?
The only thing I can do is speculate. I don't know how that kind of mind thinks.
Right.
I was explaining to your producer earlier that in the restraining order court event that we had, when he was trying to explain to her why he said the N-word, his word was that he was brought up to believe that that word means ignorance and has nothing to do with color. So somebody who feels comfortable saying something like that just has no line. And I believe that when he has situations where there are, my My mom raised me, and she raised a strong woman. And I think when people who are strong, especially people who are of color, who he obviously does not respect nor does he like, are taking a stand. We built the fence because he was destroying our property before we built the fence. That when people are taking a stand, that they feel that they have the privilege and right to cross those lines.
In our original reporting, we did show how after the restraining order was established, this neighbor would pull his truck up right next to the home, pause or stop, and then spin off, right? Creating a dynamic that is a nuisance, trying to intimidate, etc. All right, playing games. So at this point, obviously this individual has not really received a clear message that
Correct.
He is to leave you alone, to stop this kind of action. Have you tried to enforce that as a violation perhaps of the restraining order, at least in spirit?
I have actually shared all of those videos with our local police department.
Okay.
And the only thing I can tell you is that what they've told me is that that is not a violation of the restraining order. When I read what's on the restraining order, to me, it looks like a clear violation, especially with the repeated times that he did it. Yeah.
And I don't mean to interrupt. I just want to ask you a question. Have you gone to the judge who signed it or called the clerk of that court to see if you can get redress back in front of the judge?
That I did not do, and I did not know I could do that.
You can.
And I will.
Yes, you can. Typically the clerk, depending on their jurisdictional standards, the clerk will be able to usher you through that.
Okay.
To have an evidentiary hearing about the restraining order. So there's a dynamic here. Obviously, you have a husband, and your husband wants to protect you. He was very angry when this happened. You had to run after him. You don't want anything bad to happen to you or him or anybody. You just want to be able to live in a peaceful environment.
Correct.
What has this done as far as changing dynamics with how you all live in your community?
I think it's changed the dynamic, not just how we're living in this community, but just in general. I often cry when I tell this story, so I'm probably gonna cry when I tell it now. But
it's okay.
When I was in that video that you saw, that 1 and 32-second video that you saw, when you see me kind of turning around and videotaping the different aspects of my backyard, and I'm trying to kind of look for a place to go. One of the reasons why you see me doing that is because I felt so alone and helpless. And I also felt terrible for those kids who were standing there, because as we know, racism is a learned behavior.
That's right.
I could see the kids looking at me and almost like they were trying to figure out what was going on. And to see that my husband was witnessing something that he had never seen before, and seeing the fact that that we were experiencing this horrible incident was just heartbreaking. Now, as far as my husband and I are concerned, what I can tell you is that he and I are rock solid. We are much closer than we were before. And part of the reason why we are is because, it's how we've always been. But since this has happened, we realize the importance of really being a strong front and a source of support for each other. So we're teaching people about this and talking to people about this and telling parents to share the video with their kids, not to sensationalize it, but understand that this is something that happens, so that we can stop, the cycle of making it so that things like this are okay. It doesn't make you a patriot. It's a horrible, horrible way to think, and horrible actions to inflict on innocent people when you think that way. So it's made it, I think it's made it more difficult for people who are in the community. As we know, when you tell the truth, it's not always taken very, very well with people who don't want to hear the truth. But for my husband and me, it's made us stronger when we are out there telling the truth about these things that happen every day. I'm one of how many of those incidents that happened on July 30th of 2022.
There's a saying that says, if you're traveling and you never come face to face with the devil, that means you all are traveling in the same direction.
Right.
So when you are being a righteous individual and simply trying to bring light and love into the world, those who do not want to see that light or love will be confrontational at times.
Right.
I'm very thankful for the leadership you provided. You are a public speaker. You are a survivor of abuse and harassment. You speak about these things. You give life to people who have experienced these things because of your connection and your ability to overcome. Here's what I see. I see a very unfortunate, a very bad, a very evil situation happen to somebody who has so much light inside of them that they are the ones properly equipped to deal with it. And you're so right about people need to share the video because context matters. Who presents the video and what context will determine how the person receiving the video will learn. It is important that we provide the context that this is bad, this is wrong, and this is exactly what you should never become.
Absolutely.
Do you have any last words for those who are watching this? And naturally, the vast majority of people obviously are supportive of you and they understand that this is a horrible thing that happened.
I think the most important thing I want to say to people who are out there is understanding that all of us have a responsibility to do two things. One, to understand that there is color and we should celebrate color and we should appreciate color and we should appreciate culture and we should appreciate our differences. I was thinking this morning, a tree and grass and flowers, they grow, you water them, they all grow, but they're different.
Right.
Okay, but it doesn't, because they're different, doesn't make it so that we don't call it a tree or grass or a flower. We can separate those three things and they can all still be beautiful. We can acknowledge them for what they are. So there is color, that's the first thing. The second thing is the importance of speaking up and being involved. One of the things that I learned about being biracial, which I am, I was raised by a Black mom and a white father, is that there is a certain amount of privilege at times that comes to me because I look different. And many times people feel a certain level of comfort talking to me about racist things that they think that somehow I'm going to be okay with because I'm not quite all there. And my response to that is, what are you doing? What are you saying? That's ridiculous. I'm Black. First of all, even if I'm not Black, why would you ever say that? It's important for people to understand that as an American, as a Black person, as a white person, you have a responsibility to speak up and defend your fellow man, even if you've never met them. That's the only way this is ever, ever, ever going to change.
That is so true. That is so true. It doesn't take place by some leader standing at a podium, but the leader that's in the conversation. Thank you so much for everything that you do, Ms. Ronsman. We are appreciative of your leadership.
Thank you.